By becoming mindful of the language that we use, we're not just choosing how we communicate with the world, we're choosing the world we want to live in. So as we navigate our day-to-day interactions, both with ourselves and others, let's remember the profound impact our words can have. Let's choose words that uplift, inspire, and heal, transforming not only our inner dialogue, but the very brain that helps us perceive and interact with the world around us. Welcome to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, where we explore the keys to unlocking your full potential and living your best life. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. Whether you're looking to make a breakthrough, overcome a challenge, or simply live with greater clarity, joy, and purpose, you'll find the tools and inspirations you need right here. So let's start your journey towards personal mastery and growth right now. Welcome back to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, your go-to resource for practical tips, insightful research, and inspiring stories to help you unlock your full potential. I'm your host, Jose Johnson, and I'm an expert in the field of mindfulness, mindset, and peak performance, and I am so excited to have you here with me today. And today, we are embarking on an exploration of something so common, yet so powerful that it shapes our reality in ways that we often overlook: our words. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Speak only if it improves upon the silence." And in our modern, fast-paced world where words are exchanged with the speed of light, or in some cases with just the click of the send button, this wisdom invites us to pause and reflect on the power of our language. And when it comes to our speech, it's not just about what we say, but how we say it, why we say it, the intention behind it. This wisdom teaches us the importance of the art of measured speech and thought. It reminds us that every word we choose is a brushstroke on the canvas of our lives and the lives of those around us. Now just imagine for a moment the profound depth of this idea. In a world that's overflowing with noise, the choice to use words that enhance the silence rather than detract from it is a nearly lost art form. Now, this principle not only guides us in mindful communication with others, but it also deeply aligns with the Stoic and Taoist philosophies that remind us that every word carries the weight of worlds within them. So today, we're not just going to talk about words. We're actually diving into the very fabric of reality that our words weave around us and within us. Their power to shape thoughts, mold perceptions, and dictate emotions. We'll explore how neuroscience shows us the tangible effects of positive versus negative language on our brain. We'll dive into the power of words in shaping our relationships and our self-perception. And most importantly, we'll discover some practical tips to harness this power for our personal growth and mastery. In essence, we'll explore how the words we choose become the worlds that we live in. So whether you're seeking to transform your self-talk, deepen your connections with others, or simply become more mindful of the words you release into the world, now this episode is for you. So let's get things started. Let's start with the science of words. Did you know that the words we hear, think, and speak can literally reshape our brains? Look, I know it sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, but it's a fact backed up by cutting-edge research in the field of neuroscience. Let's start with the work of neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Newberg, a pioneer in the study of the brain's response to language. Dr. Newberg found that negative words, those that carry the essence of fear, doubt, and anxiety, can stimulate areas of our brains that are involved in stress response. So let's look at how negative speech influences our brains. First up is the amygdala, often referred to as our brain's fear center. Now, this tiny almond-shaped part of our brain plays a crucial role in processing emotions, particularly those related to fear and threat. When we are exposed to negative speech, our amygdala kicks into high gear, leading to heightened feelings of anxiety and stress. Imagine it like an alarm system that goes off, signaling danger, even when there isn't any physical threat around. This heightened state can make us more reactive and less reasoned in our responses. Next up is the anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC. This area is intricately involved in processing our emotions, the sensation of pain, and where we focus our attention. Negative speech not only captures our attention, but can amplify the ACC's activity, further feeding into our feelings of distress and negativity. It's as if the words themselves become a form of emotional pain echoing through our minds and our bodies. Moving on, we find the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, or the DLPFC. Now, this part of our brain is a bit like the conductor of an orchestra, and is responsible for higher order functions like reasoning, planning, and emotional regulation. When bombarded with negative speech, the DLPFC's ability to regulate our emotions can become impaired, making it much harder to cope with stress and maintain our emotional equilibrium. It's like trying to navigate a stormy sea without a compass. The tool that we normally rely on to keep us steady is suddenly less effective. And lastly, we have the insula, which is involved in processing bodily sensations and emotions. Negative speech can activate the insula, leading us to experience the physical manifestations of stress, such as an increased heart rate or sweating. That's a vivid reminder that the words we hear and speak can literally change how we feel in our bodies, not just in our minds. As we've explored how negative speech impacts various brain regions, let's dive into the chemical level, the neurotransmitters that act as messengers in our brain, influencing our feelings, our thoughts, and our reactions. Negative speech doesn't just activate certain brain areas, it triggers a cascade of neurotransmitters that directly impact our emotional and physical state. And one of the primary neurotransmitters involved in our stress response is cortisol, and it's often dubbed the stress hormone. Cortisol is released in higher quantities during times of stress and negativity, including when we're exposed to negative speech. Its primary role is to prepare our body for a fight or flight response, increasing glucose in the bloodstream and enhancing the brain's use of that glucose. However, when cortisol levels are consistently high due to ongoing negativity, for example, it can lead to a host of negative effects, such as impaired cognitive performance, suppressed thyroid function, and increased blood pressure. It's like our body is constantly on edge, ready to react to a threat that, more often than not, is not physical. It's just in our head. Another key player in the response to negative speech is adrenaline, also known as epinephrine. Adrenaline further amplifies our body's stress response, increasing heart rate, elevating blood pressure, and boosting our energy supplies. It prepares us for immediate action, a mechanism that was crucial for our ancestors' survival, but can be taxing and unnecessary in response to non-physical threats like negative words. So you see, the words we're exposed to and the words we choose to use go beyond just affecting our mood in the moment. They have a tangible, physiological impact on our bodies through the complex interplay of neurotransmitters. This chemical ballet influences everything from our heart rate to our ability to think clearly and feel happy. But here's the empowering part. Just as negative speech can trigger this cascade of stress-related neurotransmitters, positive phrases, those that are filled with love, hope, and encouragement, can have an almost soothing effect on our brains. They increase the production of our feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, and can enhance our brain's cognitive functioning. This means better decision-making, improved attention, and sharper memory. So essentially, by choosing to engage with positive language, we're not just feeling better in the moment. We are sculpting a brain that's primed for peak performance and resilience. But the impact of words goes beyond the immediate chemical reactions in our brain. Enter the concept of linguistic relativity, or as it's more commonly known, the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Now, this theory suggests that the language we speak doesn't just express our thoughts, it shapes them. The structure of our language can actually affect how we perceive time, space, and even the emotions that we feel. So for a moment, I want you to imagine two different languages. One that has a rich vocabulary for emotions, and another with very few words to describe feelings. Speakers of the first language will have a very nuanced way of understanding and communicating their emotions, while speakers of the second may find it harder to distinguish between different emotional states. This doesn't just influence how we talk about our feelings, it influences how we experience them. Now, what this tells us is that our words have the power to shape our reality, not just metaphorically, but physically and psychologically. By becoming mindful of the language that we use, we're not just choosing how we communicate with the world, we're choosing the world we want to live in. So as we navigate our day-to-day interactions, both with ourselves and others, let's remember the profound impact our words can have. Let's choose words that uplift, inspire, and heal, transforming not only our inner dialogue, but the very brain that helps us perceive and interact with the world around us. Now, as we wrap up this segment, I invite you to reflect on the words that you've used today. Were they bricks that built walls or bridges? And how can you shift your language to create a more positive, empowering reality for yourself and those that you interact with? So stick around as we explore the art of communication in our next segment, where words become bridges, connecting us in more meaningful ways. All right, as we journey further into the power of words, we pivot from the internal landscape of our minds to the external world of our relationships. It's here, in the space between us and others, that the words take on a new role, the role of bridges. Communication at its heart, well, it's about connection. It's about breaking down barriers and building bonds that uplift and support. But far too often, our words do the opposite. They create misunderstandings, foster conflicts, and leave us feeling more isolated than ever. But it doesn't have to be this way. Do you remember playing the telephone game as a kid, where a message gets whispered down the line of people and ends up sometimes hilariously distorted by the end? This is a perfect analogy of how easy our messages can get lost in translation. The lesson here? Clarity and intentionality in our words are paramount. It's not just what we say, but how we say it that counts. So let's explore how we can harness the power of words to create stronger, more resilient bridges between us and the people in our lives. And we're going to start this exploration with how to become a mindful communicator. Mindful communication is all about bringing awareness to how you interact with others. It involves applying mindfulness principles like being present in the moment and non-judgmental to your conversations. Here are 4 key aspects of mindful communication. Number 1 is active listening. They say that most people don't really listen because they're too busy thinking about their next response. So start by paying close attention to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally. Try to understand their perspective without interrupting. Number 2 is empathy. Put yourself in the other person's shoes and try to see things from their point of view. Number 3, be clear and concise. Express yourself clearly and directly. Avoid unnecessary jargon or rambling. When it comes to communication, more words can often lead to more mess. And number 4, non-judgmental communication. Avoid criticizing or blaming the other person. Try to stick with the facts, even when talking about an emotionally charged issue. Now, here's some tips that help you improve your mindful communication skills. Start by being present. Put away distractions like your phone and focus on the conversation at hand. Listen with your eyes and your ears. Another tip is take a deep breath. If you feel you're getting frustrated, take a deep breath to center yourself before speaking. This is especially important when your emotions are running high. Do you remember as a kid being told to count to 10 when you're angry? Well, yeah, that actually works. Taking that pause and filling your body with oxygen lets your stress hormones dissolve and resets your mental state. Another tip is to ask clarifying questions. Make sure you understand what the other person is saying before responding. You can say something like, let me make sure I understand your point, or what specifically do you want or need from me? Another tip is to make sure that you acknowledge and validate. Show the other person that you hear them and understand their feelings, saying things like, so what I'm hearing you say is, or I can understand why you might feel that way. And finally, practice self-awareness. Notice your own internal state and how it might be affecting your communication. This is where the power of a daily mindfulness practice comes in. When you have developed a mindful mindset for yourself, well, it makes it that much easier to be a mindful communicator. Mindful communications does take time and practice, but it can greatly improve the quality of your relationships and help you connect with others on a much deeper level. So here's a little example of mindful communications in action. Just imagine you're having a conversation with a friend who's been going through a tough time. Instead of just blurting out unsolicited advice, criticism, or platitudes, you choose to listen deeply, reflect their feelings back to them, and ask how you can support them. So, for example, you could say, wow, I hear what you're saying, and I understand that you feel upset. So what do you need from me right now to help you? In this moment, your words are building a bridge of understanding and caring, showing your friend that they are seen, heard, and valued. So I encourage you to think about the last conversation you had. Were your words walls or bridges? And moving forward, how can you use your language to build stronger, more meaningful connections with those around you? As we navigate the art and science of communication, it's essential to remember a piece of wisdom from one of history's greatest philosophers, Socrates. His advice on the 3 filters of speech offers a timeless guide for ensuring our words truly act as bridges and not barriers. So before we share our thoughts with the world or even react in a conversation, Socrates invites us to pass our words through these 3 filters. Filter number 1, is it true? The first filter asks us to consider the accuracy of what we're about to say. In an age where misinformation can spread like wildfire, ensuring our words reflect reality is more crucial than ever. It's not just about not lying. It's about actively verifying that our contributions to a conversation are based on facts and genuine understanding. Filter number 2, is it necessary? Now, look, even if something's true, the next question to ask is whether it needs to be said. This filter encourages us to consider the value of our words. Will they contribute positively to the conversation? Are they going to help? Or could they unnecessarily hurt someone or escalate tensions? And finally, filter number 3, is it kind? Now, this final filter is perhaps the most profound. It challenges us to reflect on the impact of our words on others' emotional states. Now, kindness doesn't mean avoiding hard truths. It means framing our speech in a way that respects the dignity and the feelings of others, choosing compassion over callousness. Now, imagine applying these filters in your daily life, from a casual chat with a friend to a crucial decision at work. Before speaking, you pause, reflect on the truth, necessity, and kindness of your words. Now, this pause doesn't just prevent potential misunderstandings or conflicts. It actually elevates the quality of your communication, making every word count. All right, here's a practical example of the 3 filters in action. Just imagine that you're about to give feedback to a colleague at work. First, make sure that your feedback is true and based on observable facts rather than assumptions. Next, assess its necessity. Consider whether this feedback will help them grow, or is it just serving to offload your personal frustrations? And finally, deliver the message in a kind manner, focusing on their development and framing it positively to encourage rather than discourage. By applying these filters, your words become tools of constructive support rather than weapons of criticism, strengthening your relationships and fostering a positive environment. So as we conclude this segment, let's reflect on how Socrates' 3 filters of speech can transform not only our interactions, but the very fabric of our relationships. By choosing words that pass through these filters, we commit to a level of mindfulness and respect that not only bridges gaps, but builds lasting connections. So stay with us as we dive into the next segment where we'll explore the mirror of words, how the language we use with ourselves shapes our identity and our reality. All right, now that we've explored the power of words in the realm of interpersonal communication, let's turn our gaze inward to the conversations that we have with ourselves. The words that we whisper, shout, or silently utter to ourselves in the solitude of our own minds reflect and shape who we are and who we become. This is the realm of self-talk, a potent tool in the art of personal mastery and growth. Self-talk, that's a double-edged sword. It has the power to be our greatest ally or our most formidable foe. Positive self-talk can be the wind beneath our wings, propelling us towards our goals with confidence and resilience. But on the flip side, negative self-talk, well, that can be the anchor that drags us down into the depths of doubt and fear. So just imagine having a coach who follows you around all day, every day. Now, this coach can either be your source of endless encouragement, pushing you to extend your boundaries and celebrate your victories, or it can be the voice of relentless criticism, highlighting your flaws and failures at every turn. The choice is yours, based on the language that you cultivate within. To transform your self-talk, you first have to become mindful of its nature. Is your inner voice a critic, constantly downplaying your achievements and magnifying your failures? Or is it a supportive friend, encouraging you and recognizing your efforts? Well, here's how you can start transforming negative self-talk into positive, empowering dialogue. The first step is awareness and recognizing the patterns of your internal dialogue. Are they generally positive or negative? Listen to the tone and content of what you're telling yourself. Ask yourself, would you speak to a friend the same way you speak to yourself? Would you tolerate someone saying the same things to you? Understanding these patterns is crucial for change. Next, challenge negative thoughts. When you catch yourself spiraling into negative self-talk, pause. Challenge these thoughts. Are they really true? Often you'll find they're exaggerated or entirely unfounded. Another tool is to use reframing. Replace negative or critical thoughts with kinder, more constructive ones. Instead of saying, I always mess things up, reframe it to, I made a mistake this time, but I can learn from it. Practice gratitude and affirmations. Cultivating a habit of gratitude and positive affirmations helps you to focus on what you appreciate about yourself and affirm your strengths, and that can profoundly shift your internal dialogue. And remember, even our self-talk can benefit from passing through Socrates' 3 filters. Before spiraling down a path of self-criticism or doubt, ask yourself, is it true? Challenge the accuracy of the negative belief about yourself. Is it necessary? Consider whether dwelling on these thoughts serves your growth. And is it kind? Learn to treat yourself with the same compassion and understanding that you'd offer a friend. By applying these filters to our inner dialogue, we not only improve our relationship with ourselves, but enhance our capacity for empathy, resilience, and connection with others. Research shows that positive self-talk can increase your confidence, improve your mood, and even enhance your performance in challenging situations. It's not about ignoring reality, but about choosing a perspective that empowers and supports your well-being. So as we conclude this segment, I invite you to reflect on the conversations that you've had with yourself. Remember, these internal dialogues are not just background noise. They are the soundtrack of our lives. Let's choose words that uplift, inspire, and propel us forward. So stick around as we explore practical mastery in the next segment, introducing techniques and exercises to harness the transformative power of words in our daily lives. In our exploration of the power of words, we've seen how they shape our reality, influencing our emotions, and affect our connections with others. Now, let's explore 6 practical techniques and fun challenges that can help you become a personal mastery wordsmith. Number 1, journaling. Journaling can serve as a powerful tool for reflection and growth. Beyond tracking our daily activities, it can help us cultivate gratitude, understand our emotions, and articulate our desires. So every evening, write about your day and reflect on the way you describe your experiences. Were your words predominantly positive or negative? And how did they affect your mood and your interactions? Number 2, the Sweet Talk Challenge. Make it a point to offer sincere compliments or words of encouragement to everyone you interact with for a day. Notice not only the positive effect that this has on others, but also how it enhances your own mood and outlook. Challenge yourself to give at least one genuine compliment during each conversation. Reflect on the responses that you receive and how the act of giving compliments affects your own emotional state. And don't forget to sweet talk yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself a compliment or some simple words of encouragement. Number 3, the if you can't say anything nice exercise. Now, this exercise encourages mindfulness about the frequency of our negative statements. By actively avoiding gossip, complaints, and negative talk, we break the cycle of negativity that often dominates our conversations. Challenge yourself to see how long you can go without making any negative statements. You can use your journal to note the moments you felt tempted to speak negatively and how you redirect your language to maintain a positive dialogue. Want to up the stakes? Well, put your money where your mouth is. Create a version of a swear jar where every time you say something negative, $1 goes in the jar. And at the end of the month, now you can use the money to do something nice for yourself or contribute it to a charity. Want to make it even more impactful? Enlist your family and your coworkers to play along with you. Number 4 is the pause and reflect technique. Now, this technique involves taking a moment to pause before reacting or responding. This deliberate pause allows us to choose our words more carefully, ensuring they reflect our true intentions and values. So before responding in a conversation or to your own thoughts, take a deep breath and pause for 3 to 10 seconds. Consider the impact of your words and whether they align with the kind, positive, and constructive communication that you aim to foster. Number 5, the Zip It Challenge. Embracing periods of silence can be a profound practice for self-reflection and discovery. By choosing not to speak for a set period, you give yourself the space to listen more deeply to your own thoughts and to the world around you. So pick a day to minimize verbal communication. During this time, pay close attention to your thoughts and feelings. Journal about the experience, noting any new insights or realizations that emerge. And number 6, transformational vocabulary. Now, this technique is something that I learned about from Tony Robbins, and it emphasizes the importance of consciously choosing our words to shape our emotional experiences. Now, this is a technique that I use regularly in my coaching practice, but you can use it on yourself as well as a tool to help others. So what is the strategy behind transformational vocabulary? Well, basically, it's a way to de-escalate a situation and then desensitize yourself to that situation. Because you see, the real problem we face are rarely in the situations themselves. It's how we interpret or define things and how we respond to them. And the driving force in both of those cases is usually our emotions. We have an emotional response, and that makes us either want to blow things way out of proportion, or it makes us so sensitive that we personally overreact. So how does the process work? Well, let me give you an example. Have you ever thought or said, "My life sucks," particularly after a trying day or week? So let me tell you, when you believe your life sucks, there's little hope for change. So let's look how we can use transformational vocabulary to make this situation more manageable. First, we want to identify the big issue to see if we can make it smaller and more manageable. So if I were coaching you, I would start by asking you to focus on the word life. I would say, is it really everything in your life that sucks? Or is it just a part? And more than likely, the answer would be, well, it's just a part. And then the question would be, which part is it? Is it your work, your relationships, your health? Then maybe you'd say something like, well, I'm pretty healthy and I'm happy in my relationship. What really sucks is my job. So we've immediately gone from my life sucks to my work sucks. Well, can you already feel a difference? Next, I would then tackle the word sucks in the same way to try and de-escalate the severity that the word gives the situation. So I maybe would ask, does it suck or is it just not enjoyable? And maybe the response is, well, I just don't enjoy going to work anymore. So then I might ask, is it that you don't enjoy what you do or that you don't feel fulfilled by what you're doing? And let's imagine the response is, well, I just don't feel fulfilled anymore. So what we've done is taken a situation and transformed it. We've gone from my life sucks, which is a situation that has little or no hope of being able to be fixed, to my current job is not fulfilling. Now, while it's still not the place you want to be, it's a much easier situation to deal with mentally and emotionally than feeling like your entire life sucks. Wouldn't you agree? Now, all of these exercises offer a path to transform our words into tools of empowerment, connection, and growth. So be sure to use these techniques and exercises to master the art of mindful language. By integrating these practices into our lives, we not only cultivate a more positive and mindful approach to communication, but we also deepen our understanding of ourselves. So as we draw this episode to a close, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound journey we've just taken together. Through the lens of mindful communication and self-reflection, we've discovered the transformative power of words. Words that shape our reality, color our emotions, and define our connections with others. With each exercise and challenge, we've taken steps towards becoming master wordsmiths, wielding the power of language to forge a life of purpose, positivity, and connection. As we conclude, I invite you to carry forward the techniques and insights from today's episode into your everyday life. Challenge yourself to implement these strategies every day, whether it's through journaling, practicing silence, or mindfully choosing your words. Observe the shifts in your perception, your interactions, and your overall sense of well-being. Remember that the journey to personal mastery never ends. Each word, each moment of reflection, each conscious choice adds to the mosaic of your growth and transformation. Embrace these tools and let the power of your words illuminate your path to being a more mindful, compassionate, and fulfilling person. Your journey is uniquely yours. And every word you choose, well, it's a brushstroke and the masterpiece of your life. Choose them wisely and let them be a force for good in your life and the lives of those around you. So until next time, remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great. Thanks for tuning in. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you that the information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice or treatment. While the content of this podcast is based on research and personal experience, everyone's situation is unique, and the advice given may not be applicable to all. Always consult a qualified professional before making significant changes in your life. The Personal Mastery and Growth podcast is recorded at the So Good Media Studios, located in the Candy Factory, a co-working space in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.